This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Diane Roberts. U.S. President Joe Biden said Tuesday he believes his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin is a normally rational actor who badly misjudged his prospects of occupying Ukraine. The president spoke out in a rare televised interview as his administration looks for what he described as an off-ramp for Putin to de-escalate his invasion of Ukraine before he resorts to weapons of mass destruction. I think he is a rational actor who has miscalculated significantly, end quote, Biden told CNN 7 months after the conflict has begun. The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights says missile attacks by Russia's armed forces against civilian infrastructure across several cities in Ukraine Monday could amount to war crimes. VOA's Lisa Schlein reports from Geneva.
The UN reports Russian attacks on nearly a dozen cities, including Kyiv, Dnipro, and Zaporizhia, have killed at least 20 civilians and injured more than 100. UN monitors say the series of attacks appears to have been coordinated. They say the location and timing of the strikes when people were commuting to work and taking children to school is particularly shocking. UN Human Rights spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani says critical civilian infrastructure, including at least 12 energy facilities, were targeted. She notes some of these facilities may be indispensable for the survival of the civilian population just ahead of the cold winter months.
We have to stress that intentionally directing attacks against civilians and civilian objects, that is, objects which are not military objectives, amount to a war crime.
Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
For more on these and other stories, visit us at voanews.com. This is VOA News. One day after the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee called for freezing all U.S. cooperation with Saudi Arabia, the White House says U.S. President Joe Biden intends to reevaluate the U.S.-Saudi relationship. The chairman delivered one of the strongest expressions yet of U.S. anger over Saudi oil production cuts that served to boost Russia in its war in Ukraine. He called for cutting off all arms sales and security cooperation beyond the minimum necessary to defend Americans and American interests. Afghanistan, South Korea, and Venezuela lost their bids Tuesday to serve 3-year terms on the UN Human Rights Council. Seats are allocated through regional groups. Among the contested seats, Chile and Costa Rica easily ended Venezuela's bid. The U.S. Space Agency NASA announced Tuesday an experiment conducted 2 weeks ago in which a spacecraft crashed into an asteroid in an attempt to alter its orbit was a success. This provides hope the Earth could avoid a future collision with similar space objects. Here's VOA's Jeff Custer.
NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, was launched last year and rendezvoused with the asteroid Dimorphos September 26th. It was the first test of its kind to see if some future space rock headed for Earth could be nudged off course. The spacecraft, about the size of a vending machine, was crashed into the asteroid at about 22,500 kilometers per hour. It carved a crater into the surface, hurling debris out into space and creating a comet-like trail of dust and rubble stretching several thousand kilometers. It took days of telescope observations to determine how much the impact altered the path of the 160-meter asteroid. Before the impact, Moonlit took 11 hours and 55 minutes to circle its parent asteroid. Scientists had hoped to shave off 10 minutes, but NASA Administrator Bill Nelson told reporters Tuesday the impact altered the asteroid's orbit by more than 3 times that amount. While this is just a first test, Nelson said the mission shows that NASA is trying to be ready for whatever the universe throws at us. Jeff Custer, VOA News, Washington.
Actor Angela Lansbury has died at her home in L.A. just 5 days shy of her 97th birthday. Here's AP Entertainment correspondent Margie Zavaleta.
Angela Lansbury knew whatever else she did in life, she'd forever be remembered as Jessica Fletcher in the TV show Murder, She Wrote. She was nominated for an Emmy 18 times and never won. Lansbury made her mark in theater with roles in Sweeney Todd, Mame, and Gypsy. She was also the voice of Mrs. Potts in the film Beauty and the Beast.
We'll have absolutely clear, protected shooting.
Lansbury was 3 years older than Lawrence Harvey in The Manchurian Candidate, even though she played his mother. Lansbury said in a 1991 AP interview it was hard to live down that role.
I got sick of playing mothers, and that was one of the things that really put the lid on me.
I'm Margie Zavaleta.